I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's new what you're telling me. I'm curious, George, I hop in the Porsche, with 5 and a horse, I'm ready for war, I'm coming for throats, to turn to a ghost, I need to know everything. Now you be surprised at the info you get is by letting them talk, so I'm letting them talk. Gotta keep quiet, maneuver in silence, to let them in, chalk up their body, another one body, that's just how it go. I got some secrets, I'm shaking the game so they stay on their toes. Stay in your lane, how to stay on the go. I can play with the pros and act like a rookie, so they overlook me. Then I double up again, none of their knows, none of them cold. They just got lucky but never adapted, so I'm to the one if it's coming to blows. My enemies cutting it close, I let them think that they got me, but what do you know? I had them beat before we ever spoke, I'm ready for smoke. I need to know everything, who and the what and the where, I need everything. Trust me, I hear what you're saying, but act like it's telling me.
Hello there, how are you?
Hi, I'm doing well. How about you?
Fantastic, glad to have you here, Kimberly.
Yes.
Been
Kim is
looking forward
okay.
to-
Kim is cool too.
okay? Okay, good. Yeah, so today, I guess, first time actually seeing each other, and we chatted for a while before, so I'm
Yeah.
glad to have you here.
Happy to be here.
Yes. I want to share some things about Startup on the Block, so if we got any new people in the audience, they can kind of be familiar with what we're doing here, and also get you familiar so you can help spread the word too,
Awesome.
and see if there's anything synergy with what you got going on. But yeah, we've been at Startup on the Blocks for about a year and a half now. We've had like 3 pitch competitions, and getting ready to have another one next month, which I'll be announcing probably sometime next week. We were able to get the contributions from one of our sponsors of about $5,000. So it'll be a little bit larger than what we're used to, but we hope to keep growing the pot up so we can actually attract more founders to the what we're doing here. Yes, and take this time to kind of, Innisfree Hotel, they've sponsored a couple of pitch competitions, and they're going to be a sponsor for the next one as well. And we partner with the Gulf Coast Minority Chamber, the Bantucola Chamber, Small Business Development Center, and Bantucola. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, Kim, is Black Business Directory, online business directly. And so they also do our streaming for us on a lot of different platforms like LinkedIn, YouTube, and stuff like that. And the First Bank, they sponsored our last pitch competition, and so we're glad to have them on board supporting us. And they do a lot of things to support small and minority business. So definitely is a good thing there. Gulf Power now, Florida Power and Light. They're one of the sponsors of the Kukua Institute, our thing, and they're also sponsor of the training we provide to the Lean Stack training we provide for our founders. It's really our core product, and so we're excited about to have that platform available to kind of help the founders. So this one slide, I've changed it up a little bit. It's basically, I'm trying to communicate what we're doing here at Startup on the Block. So we take individuals out there. They may have a business idea, or they may be thinking about a business idea, or they may already have a startup going, and they're looking to access some resources. And we actually hold these weekly events so they can network, the founders can network. And we also have guests on like you, Kim, to kind of share expertise so the audience can actually, founders can actually learn from that. And we also, that business model design, that's one of the key things is a lot of times it's hard to pitch your idea if you don't have your business model designed correctly. And most people don't try to pitch their product instead of their business model when they're trying to raise funds or get into a pitch competition. But you have to communicate that business model fairly well in order to be successful in some of these applications. And we're lucky too to also have some cloud resources for the founders where We have a project management tool they can use at no charge. We have a step-by-step founders framework where you can start with your idea, you can document it all the way to your all the steps to your minimum viable product, and also launching your startup. We offer that free to founders through one of our partners. That's Startup Rocket. That's like a $40 a month value, and but we offer it for free to our founders. And so, there are some tools in the Lean Stack training that, of course, the Lean Canvas is in there, and this traction roadmap. That's the thing that actually helps the founder know if their idea is viable or not. So they can, it's kind of like a shortcut to a financial, a revenue model, but it's just trying to see if the numbers work out and that you do have a viable thing. But if you kind of learn all this stuff and take advantage of the resources there, you can actually, the stuff on the right, there are all these pitch competitions. So like we do them, and Visible Hand came on, they do a pitch competition almost every Thursday. They also had some pitch presentations today that I watch. And so they have a program for underrepresented founders, Ambition Fund. All of these things are out there that founders can take advantage of, but you have to be able to communicate your ideas clearly and concisely. And so that's where I struggle with my startup. And you have your idea of what you do, but you don't really know how to state it in a way that people really get it and are willing to help you out. But it takes time to learn, but you can learn it. And so there are a lot of programs out there that sponsored by Generator, Google, and it's just tons of stuff out there. So what we're trying to do is bridge that gap to kind of get you to be able to participate in some of these activities. One of our founders got to participate. I guess he applied for the America's Showcase. And we had another founder that participated in the Synapse thing. So those are things that kind of get you connected with people out in the ecosystem to kind of help you out. And of course, we have a lot of facilities locally that are available for folks. And there are also a lot of national startup programs. Did you see the announcement that Google was offering all the free training this week?
Yeah, I was super excited. Yeah, we're definitely even take advantage of that as well. It's such a great resource for everyone, business owner across the country. So that was cool. That was
and so I don't think sometimes people don't you don't really get and that's why this stuff down here at the bottom of the startup program, there's so many programs, and that's not even a startup program. That's just a regular business program. And literally all you have to do is go on the website and fill out the form and tell them the number of employees you got, and they'll take a week or so to verify it, and then all your employees can take whatever that training, and it's a lot of stuff in there from so you can get the certificate. So these are programs that support businesses and founders, and so that's I'm excited about that. Yeah,
me too.
Yeah. Yeah. So this is our playbook that we recommend to all founders, and so it's just kind of if you're new to the startup world, you can use this playbook, and even if you're an experienced founder. I talk to a lot of founders that are really not familiar with the resources that are out there for them. But this playbook will kind of give you a really good idea of what's in the ecosystem and what the startup world is all about. Are you familiar with that f6s.com site, Kim?
I'm not, but now I need to do a deep dive because this looks really cool. So I learned something for sure.
Yeah. So and I really find that a lot that people, they're out there trying to work on their startup, but and they're out there spending money. And I was trying to remember who I was talking to here recently. They're spending a little money and hosting and building their product on Amazon Web Services, AWS, and I explained to them, that if you go on F6S and build up your profile, your personal profile and your business profile, and request the code for the AWS service, they give you $25,000 for AWS service, and you have 2 years to use that up. So and they will bump that up to like 100,000, but you have to justify needing that much. And so that site has over $2.5 million worth of freebies on it. It's the largest founder site that's out there. It's like over 4 million founders are on that site.
All right,
So,
awesome.
yeah.
Community is so important in this startup world. Like doing it by yourself, obviously you need a team, but it's even like building it. You need other people on that journey with you to be as a resource, support, and all of that. So that's super helpful. Definitely check that site out after this call for sure.
Okay, good. And that startup school, the Y Combinator, they're like really smoking right now with all the founders they're running through their program. Like they went from like investing a little over 100K in each startup to like over 500K.
Yeah.
But they open source all their information, and so you can actually learn. So that's a startup school is a free resource for founders too, just to kind of see what the number one accelerator program in the world, to see, learning from them on how to go about building your startup. Yeah, Lean Stack. Ash is the guy who invented the Lean Canvas. Just evolved it from the business model canvas. But he's been working with startups, with corporations that run innovation programs, universities that doing startups, and out with a lot of business. So he's like the expert, on the Lean Startup methodology. And as a founder, participating in our program, you actually have access to his training. And so he's really down to earth guy, and sharing a lot of stuff. And so, Kimberly, we're gonna find out what's this digital and design strategist all about. And next week we're gonna have Levy on. He's over in Mobile. He runs the Black Chamber over there. He also has his coach up business as well. So we're looking forward to having him share his expertise. Let's see if I got. Yeah, just want to let everybody know we do have some mentors out there to work with the founders. So just get involved and engage, and you can be a part of getting the help you need to kind of move your startup forward. All righty, so it's our time now, Kim. We got through with all the little paperwork stuff there.
Awesome. No, that was super helpful. I learned so much about what you're doing, your team is doing. So can't wait to figure out how we align, how we can keep these efforts going. So thank you for sharing all of that.
Yes. And I hope the folks in the audience, because everybody develops an opinion of what something is, and instead of digging deep and asking a lot of questions to kind of get to the bottom, being curious, and so one of the reasons why the Kukua Institute does this in supporting, founders of color was basically the fact that there were some programs here locally, but the programs really they wasn't as inclusive as they should be. So we figured we needed to go ahead and get some started, so I can share my experience being a founder and, some of the things I've taken advantage of. And so just imagine, that, you need money to grow your startup, to build what you're doing. But the way the ecosystem works, it provides a lot of free stuff so you can avoid some of those expensive. And
right.
Yeah, so that's kind kind of the idea.
Yeah, especially in that ideation phase when you're trying to, ramp up. All those resources are super helpful. So while you're testing, ideating, you have that flexibility compared to, cashing out so much money and trying to test and then more money, because it's a long journey for sure in the startup life. So yeah, all these things are super helpful. Courses and like credits, all those different things. So we definitely in our startup have used many of that as well. So definitely understand the
Good,
need.
good. Yeah, and so one of the things I learned early on, it doesn't matter what stage you're at, and because like early on in my startup thing, I was down in Miami, and I ran into this nonprofit, for a nonprofit. She said her nonprofit works with um, startups that are making between $5 and $10 million a year, and we help them scale out to the hundreds of $millions a year. And so that told me no matter where you are, there's somebody out there trying to help you, because it helps the economy out.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Always room to scale. Always, no matter what level you're at, it's always bigger if you want to take it there.
Yeah, and I'll mention this before we get going with your introduction. I saw a gentleman. I think he works for the patent office, and he's PhD. I may not have it correctly, but I saw he was starting the tutoring service, and so that sounded fine, to me. But when you think about it, if this gentleman has a PhD and he's trying to help the people, in his community, and so the question is, you have to think big, just not just to people in your community. You need to create something that is global, and so it's going to take just as much work, to do something, small as it may take more work to do something big, but it's definitely going to take effort to do both. So
Yeah.
why not put your effort in something?
Right. Exactly.
And when you work on the big stuff, you get help.
Right. The big picture. Exactly. Yeah. The steps are the same, right? How you kind of walk through the process, starting and ideating and testing and trying to scale and grow. So if you think bigger, automatically, right? Seeing, and then how can you like break it down in small steps to get to the big vision that you have. So definitely agree.
Well, Kim, tell us a little bit about yourself, just a kind of an introduction of, where you are and what you're up to.
Sure. Yes. So I'm Kimberly Gant. And so currently I am VP of Digital and Design at Minwo, where I lead both our marketing and product design efforts. And Minwo is a D&I tech company that is powering the Black business ecosystem through our app Rialto. And so Rialto is our community as a service platform made for ecosystem builders. And so the goal of Rialto is reduce the complexity of managing those digital business communities that we just talked about, so that those leaders can spend more time focused on the impact that they're trying to make.
Yes, that was pretty clear. Yeah. So before we dive into that a little bit more, understand you grew up here in Pensacola.
Yes, I did. Born and raised in Pensacola, Florida. And then I went to University of Florida for college, majored in industrial systems engineering. And then after that, I graduated, and a month later, I moved to California, to the Bay Area, very close to Silicon Valley, where I spent 7 years there working for a variety of industries and different channels and business efforts. And so now back in Pensacola with the family and managing efforts with Minwo in startup life.
Yes. That's so. What got you interested in industrial and systems engineering?
Yes. So I knew I loved solving problems. That was key. All right. And it was going to be computer engineering. And then I learned about industrial, and I wanted to have a wide range of possibilities. And so with engineering, disciplines, depending on what you take, are more structured. It was all structured, but more so you're going to have a path laid out for you. And industrial was the one that was, here's this wide range. If you want to do finance, you can do operations, you can do supply chain, you can do business, you can do consulting. There's so many avenues with that major. And so when I found out about it, I was like, yes, this is the one. I can figure out where it can take me. But if I learn the steps, how to solve the problems, and I have a strong foundation with STEM, math, and science, then I'll be good to go. And so that's why I chose industrial engineering, and it's helped me out a lot thus far.
Oh, great, great. So uh, so how was your experience at the University of Florida?
Yeah, my experience was my experience was it was good. It was good. It was definitely interesting. There were some moments, there were some highs, but there are also some low lows, right? Engineering is not a, easy major by any means, but I really think the power community is what helped me through. This freshman year, I was involved in NSBE. I also did the Step Up Engineering Program, which is a program for underrepresented students to thrive and find that network in the engineering program. And you start in the summer before your freshman year, and you have resources throughout your entire freshman year to make sure you retain into the program. So that also saved me as well. So I think community is what got me through the program, because without it, to be honest, I don't think it would have been definitely more challenging. I would have figured it out, but it would not have been the experience I would have had without my network that I have built through those programs, for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you bring that idea of community up, so it just rings out no matter what stage you're at, So what was the NSBE chapter pretty active when you were there?
Yes, very, very active. It's still active to this day. Freshman year, there was this huge student body meeting. It was like I walked in, saw all these Black engineers and also other NSCs as well. And the people were just shouting the mission, and they were just super excited. The e-board was like they ran it like so seamlessly. And I was like, wow, like these people are doing big things as students on this campus, and I want to be a part. So my last 2 years, actually no, my third and fourth year, I was on the actual e-board, and then the other years I served as a member or involved in like committee or a chair position. And so definitely was heavily involved, not only on the college level, but also by attending conferences both regionally and nationally as well. So definitely involved in NSBE for sure.
Yeah, so how would you compare something like your experience with NSBE to, like uh, instead of being a student, you're now, like being a founder and
Yeah.
growing a startup, and as NSBE as a student, you're trying to network,
Yeah.
to learn, support each other, get study together,
Yeah.
and so yeah, you got me really thinking. Yeah, so yeah. How do you see that, like what y'all doing with Manuel?
For sure. Yeah, I think the important thing, the community is key. And I'll probably say that a lot during this chat. So, but it
Hmm.
really is, right? I think learning, how to like share, here are my struggles, but also here are my strengths. How can I help you? How can you help me? And really forming that strong relationship was super important for me. And also as I grew throughout not only my corporate career, but also in startup, is that when you're trying to learn something new and do something that's never been done before, you really want to like lean on people in your network community that's already kind of paved that way. And so for me, forming those connections that, for example, there is someone that I met, I would say 4 years ago in the Bay, and they were like super cool. Like we were friends before I even like ventured into startup. And then 4 years later, I ran into him before I moved back, and we were talking. I was like, oh, like, what are you doing? Oh, I'm in BC. Oh my goodness, actually I'm in a startup right now. Right. And that was 4 years, not even thinking about how we had connected. So I feel like those relationships are super important in finding that community. And it's also helped me even now with NSBE. Some of my closest friends to this day I met on that campus. Has also helped me with job referrals, different connections in my network. And so I think finding your tribe in different stages of your life have been super helpful for me, not only personally, but also as I built the startup with the team as well.
Yeah, so like with Startup on the Blocks, that's one of the things we are struggling with, that community and the founders supporting each other. But that's why we do the networking, and we purchased that Lean Stack system, and it has a community aspect to it. But it doesn't have all the communications and except for chat and stuff like that. But you have to develop relationships in a lot of different ways through networking. So you all are. Meanwhile, it's about building a tool that can be used to kind of create a community. Because my experience, at Florida in the '70s, it was really challenging, and NSBE was what got me through it. So being a founder, you need that same type of situation where you got people around you that's been through it and can move you forward.
Right, exactly. Yeah. So with Rialto, right now we're onboarding communities that are already exist. And so the goal is to, if these communities are doing similar things, like across different regions, across the country, or even in diaspora, right? How can we combine them together to work on similar problems and share resources? And so through our, Hustle For It Summit, or through our engagements, we're trying to bridge that gap and connect those ecosystems to where, oh, I see what you're doing. How can we share resources? What are you doing in this region of the country? How are you scaling in this part, of the city? And so really making sure we can have that connection. But it's hard to do that when community leaders are trying to manage their own digital communities, right, on their own.
Yes.
That they have. And so our goal is for Rialto to be that tool for that one-stop shop through all those platforms. And then now when we bring all these ecosystems together, they can then connect, and data can determine alignment based on, what they're working on, what their goals are, et cetera. So it's more so master the community management piece, which is super important. And then now it's more so the ecosystem connecting all those players in the same space together.
Yes. Yeah, that's a pretty powerful and challenging thing you all are working on there. And I put the link to the so I'll just show it. So that's the kind of the memoir, and then I'll do the Rialto. So where did that Rialto name come in?
Yes. So actually, my friend, also the founder and CEO of the company, got that name actually because I believe it's a bridge in Europe. And so when we're trying to connect, we're connecting ecosystems and communities. So, oh yeah, here's the bridge, right? We're now taking everyone together and be able to cross the bridge, not have that gap that's currently happening. So that's where the name Rialto came from.
Okay. So I was looking at your LinkedIn profile, and you have a digital and design strategist as kind of like your label.
Yes.
So what does that actually mean?
For sure. So I'll talk about Minwo, but then in general, because it all aligns from experiences wise. So I lead both our marketing and also our design efforts. And so from a marketing point of view, both our digital marketing, which is, social, all of our own channels that we have, as well as our internal marketing to our community members on the platform. And then design, both brands, so how we represent ourselves both online and offline, as well as products. So actually building the app, UI, and UX design. And so my role is figuring out what the strategy is, using, problem solving and data and, our business goal to make sure that that's executed and comes to life, no matter if we're online or offline, based on the channel that we are working with.
Okay. Yeah, that's like sounds like a lot of stuff too.
It is. It's a lot. My skills has been definitely over the years. It is a lot, but I think what I have learned is that when it comes to design and marketing, the foundation is the same. It's more so use it at that moment. So obviously UX design, you have that process, research, design, test, implement, right? And so even in marketing, right? Research, who is your user persona? Where are your customers? Where are they? How can I market to them? Design, in this case, marketing, create, right? So creating that content, figuring after you decided, who your persona, who your user is, and then testing, figuring out what content works. And design world, figuring out, what user flows, what parts of your app works or need, more insight, and then implementing. So once you find your groove, once you find what actually sticks and fits, right, continue to implement and find ways to iterate as you continue to grow and scale. And so I've used that kind of like 4-step process for me, both on the marketing side and the product side, to really help ground us as a team. We work on executing those different functions.
Yeah, could you dive a little deeper in each one of those 4 things you mentioned? I heard you mention the word persona, and I heard you mention
Yeah.
user experience. You mentioned a lot of things that you were really, spitting them off pretty quick there.
For sure. Yeah. So UX, so user experience, is how the users engage with your app. And so UI is user interface, which is how is your app designed visually. And so you can design a website or application beautifully, right? But if it's not functional, if it's not useful, if it's not valuable to a user, it's not going to be valuable to your business and what you're working on. And so UX is just as important as UI. And so that's a really part of our process with at Minwo when building Rialto as well. In terms of personas, is really figuring out who is the user you are targeting and who's the user that you're trying to get to your platform. And so when you do personas, you can get as super detailed as like age, demographic, their interests, their strengths, their weaknesses, their problems. And so when you know and understand who your person is, that will ground you on how you market, how you design for any of your things moving forward that you have within your startup and your business, because you want to make sure you're marketing and designing for the right person, right? So for example, if your audience is children, right? There's certain things that, a child will react to more than an adult. And so being super clear on who your person is will allow you to make sure that you're meeting those business goals throughout your journey as you're building, scaling, and growing.
Yes. The so from a marketing standpoint, uh, if you didn't have that persona, could you actually be effective with your marketing?
Not really. And I mean, yeah, I think that it's important to start with that first, because you need to understand who you're talking to. And so you can test, and some people test things out and then figure out their personas later. But I would say if you just do that due diligence and take that time to really be super clear on who your audience is and outline it, very detailed, that will help influence what you do moving forward and making sure you're very strategic about your next steps and not wasting time or effort, for sure.
Look, it costs money to market to a lot of different people, but
It
when you
does.
can focus it, that's kind of a lot of the logic behind that. And then on the lean canvas, the first step is talks about your customer segments,
Right.
and they always say, who is your early adopter, who is your, low hanging fruit, and then you can develop a persona for that audience instead of trying to develop a persona for everybody out there.
Exactly. Yeah. I always say just hone in on your person like that. And if you want to scale and grow and add more people later, that's fine. But when you're first starting out, hone in on your person, right? What's that person that you can convert and you can solve their problem. And then over time you can test and then pivot where necessary. But you want to solve that first problem first for them. And like you said, not go too big to where you're trying to solve the needs of many people and you're not being focused on, the people that are actually wanting your product or your service that you need.
Yeah, and I think what's good about that approach is you can probably get more traction with that persona, and then you actually that traction in demonstrating that traction, and then when you get ready to expand to another persona, several other personas, you can get the funding to do that. But you can't start off trying to market to everybody.
Right.
That's kind of what the point is.
Exactly. And then you also have data and insights on those people to help you influence what your next persona is, right? Because now it's okay, cool, we've done this for a bit. We have some insights, right? How can what's that next step? So you're not just finding someone just off of, assumptions. You have actual data and metrics and insights to influence what that next step is for sure, which is super helpful also.
Yeah. So, and what was you all's approach with memoir? And then I guess then when you all do the Rialto, uh, who's the low hanging fruit?
Yes. And so with Minwo, we actually did a lot of research on who our customer was. And we actually changed it as well in the past year and a half. And so originally we were just, our customer was business owners, so entrepreneurs, so just,
Hmm.
founders. And then over time, as we kept doing more research, listening to, our advisors and kind of doing more insights on different things, we realized that it's actually the ecosystem builders
Okay.
that need the tool, right? Because like founders, founders are, we have the resources, they have all these different tools and groups, and they're just like looking, for a different community, which is great, right? But how can community builders, like once the founders get to the communities, how can they effectively, manage these people? Because community management is not easy, right? Providing resources, sourcing, gathering, providing value and keeping them there engaged and retained. And so once we realized that over our research, we realized that, oh, this is the tool like for ecosystem builders. And so that's when it kind of like clicked for us. And then we
Hmm.
started reaching out to community owners about the tool and saying, hey, I know you're using Slack, you're using like Google Hangouts, you're using all these different emails, all these different tools to manage one community. What if you had
Hmm.
all of that in one place?
Yes.
You didn't have
Yeah.
to leave anywhere, right? And so that
Hmm.
was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect. And once it kind of had that kind of like click moment for all our different customers, that's when we knew that, okay, this is the audience for us. And so but it did take time and research and learnings to figure that out. So it's all part of that startup journey for us. So for
Yes.
us, ecosystem builders are, is our audience. That's our people that I know that would get great value out the Rialto platform and can solve their problems they have mentioned to us during, our demos and different things that we have.
Yeah. So it sounds like getting started and doing something and learning, and then you can keep refining.
Right.
But if you don't do anything, you can't learn.
Exactly. Yeah. And so, and it's interesting because we're still serving business owners, right? We're still serving
Yes.
entrepreneurs and founders, but we know that, our customer, like our customer. So the business owner is a user type of our platform, right? But our customer is the ecosystem builder. And so when we create and we design, we're making sure that we are meeting the needs of all of our user types. So we have the founder, such entrepreneur, we have the community leader, we have the SMEs, subject matter experts, right? And so we're designing for all these different user types, but we know who our actual customer is, which is the ecosystem builder, how we market, where our features are geared towards, and those different things.
Do you think your Rialto will become as powerful as your experience with NSBE, the National Society for Black Student Engineers?
Yeah. So our goal is to actually take that community concept and make it work seamlessly, right? Because even in NSBE, I remember before virtual events were a huge thing, we had like all these like 3 different tools to manage all these like our different meetings and in our emails, and there's all these different things we had to use to run and be efficient for our org, which was great, right? At the time it worked, but what if there was a way to like take out that complexity and make it seamless, right? It's a one-stop
Yes.
shop. We on board, we can communicate, we can have all of our meeting notes on the resources, we can have our office hour video chat, one-on-one, our meetings, whether there's one place to do everything. And
Yeah.
so Rialto is that tool we're building right now in order to make that happen. So I do think my experiences in finding community and having it in every stage of my career, as well as my, founder, like CEO as well experience, and also our executive team has definitely helped us in how we think about Rialto and how it adds value to our customers and prospects that we're.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like if you're a founder or you're ecosystem builder, And so like Startup on the Bus, Kukua Institute is kind of like, help like an ecosystem
Yeah.
builder / resource, but we serve founders.
Right.
And so, um, so getting founders to understand being part of the ecosystem is it's like being like in your case, Nesby, where you got all that support trying to get through engineering school.
Right. Exactly what it is, right? Like here's the community for you. Enter into this platform, your community is here, right? You want resources, we're going to share resources. You want to do video chat, office hours, we're going to have video chat. You want to host events, you can host events, right? So we can find your community, have your tribe, and not only find it, but also engage as well. Like, we don't want you to get there and then just have a profile. I want you to actually share, engage, watch everyone grow together. And so I think that's one thing that we're definitely focused on, not just getting people on the platform, but also how do we engage them as well and get them excited about using it and sharing with others in their communities.
Yes, and so that's great. I want to remind the audience and the folks out on Facebook there. Go ahead and get your post your questions in the chat, the stage chat, and so we can kind of get some make sure your questions can get answered. But yeah, I'm excited because I would like some of those founders out there, what's your community and how are you engaged in that community? And so is it like being a member of a church? Is it like being a member of an organization? Or is it like being a member of a fraternity? Or are you just out there by yourself,
Yeah, for sure.
A sorority, yeah, and so yeah, so I think I guess the takeaway there is if you with your family or your church or your fraternity, sorority, or organization that you're a member of, you take advantage of those stuff. So if you're a founder, how do you get that same type of thing? And the word is you definitely engage with that community and join those communities and participate in those communities and leverage those communities to move forward. And so from my standpoint, Kim, my experience was always about leveraging resources. And so and being a part of a network, you have access to a lot of resources.
Right. It's
and
big.
That's really, really fantastic. And so and I'm so happy you all are building something like that. And I know it's hard, to make something like that a reality, but that's the beauty, getting the help you need to move forward.
For sure. No, yeah, you said it all, right? I know for me, like, community is different. Community has always been a part of my life, like since I was little, right? But I will say, building a startup, you have to surround yourself with people who get it, right? Now, everyone will get startup life. It's a different type of community in a world out there that the average person wouldn't get. It's just what it is, building like something from scratch. And so really finding like your tribe in this startup like tech world is super important, because it can get discouraging. So I would tell a friend, oh yeah, like I work with a startup, and I'm just like, oh yeah, what's that? And I will explain, oh, why? And I'll explain why. Oh, okay, well, that's a lot of work, right? which it is. It is a lot of work. I'm not saying it, but with my startup friend, we have conversations like they just get it. They're just like, oh my gosh, you see that new Google like resources? You see like this, like, oh, we launched this beta app. Oh my goodness, they get it, right? And so I think that finding people on a journey similar to yours, not necessarily the same industry or same product, more so even the startup, this journey in general, is definitely super helpful in understanding that you're not alone on this path, right? And so that's been super helpful for me, not only just in startup, but like in like just my industry as a whole, as well as just personally as well. So community, I would say community is that one thing that we're building with Rialto, but you have to find that on this journey. I mean, and also keep engaging in that community as well. It's like, how can I add value to my community? And then in return, it will add value to you, which is the key thing.
Yeah, that's exactly right, and yeah, it's just a warm feeling, to be a part of a community and connect with people and learn from people. And I learn from founders, and so I just learn all the time, and I never until today talking to you. And that's a beautiful thing about being a part of a community. I just networking. When you talk to someone one on one, your both of your brains start to working on whatever solution you're trying to find, and you can and that's really how you create value in a startup is you come up with ideas and then you validate them, you keep experimenting to find out what works and what works. But if you by yourself, you can come up with an idea, but it's a lot harder out there by yourself.
For sure. And I want to also say finding and building community is not easy. So I don't want to make it seem like you just walk outside one day and just say, okay, where's my community? And you're going to walk into a room and then it will just become like, come to you. Like it does, like it can be like vulnerable, right? It could be scary trying to, meet new people in a new venture and everything. But I do think it's worth it once you find your people. So, for me, when I first moved to the Bay Area, my first year, I didn't really know anyone there. And so I went to so many tech events by myself. I was like, you know what? My goal is to talk to one person at this event or two people, depending on how long it was. That was my goal. Is all I said. And so, but over time, I kept running into those same people. And they were like, oh, hey, like, I remember you. And so I think over time, I found people in my community that I would be able to connect with. But that first step I had to take, right? Because it is different when you're in a new tech industry I had no idea about, right? So I had to go venture out and seek out what was it about. And through me trying to learn, and when I found other people also trying to learn, and that's how I found similar interests, community, and more. So I definitely don't want to say it's easy, right? But I would say it's worth it once you find your tribe.
Yeah, and it is hard, and that's why you have community to support you through the process, both emotionally and connecting you to resources to move
Exactly.
forward. Yeah, that yeah, but and kind of what the point, like I was saying earlier, doing a tutoring service, that's fine, for doing something, but you actually if you really have a good idea about your approach to tutoring, you know, why not build something that a lot of people can use that you can have more impact and then leverage the ecosystem to get the help you need and the support you need to move forward. So what do you physically or directly do with memoir?
I'm sorry, you said like my
What your role? What do you do day to day with them?
oh yeah, perfect. Yeah, day to day. Okay, cool. So day to day, it can depending on like sprint planning day, whereas sprint planning is what tasks for the app that we're designing for the next 2 weeks. Or if it's a marketing day, we're focusing on, our social media channels, email marketing, and also our brand marketing, both to our customers or to internally to our partners that we work with as well. And so that's my main day to day. And so I manage my team. So we have three people on the team, a marketer and two designers. And so working with them, we work with both our product team, our developers. So our senior UI designer works hand in hand with our developer team, making sure that the app, is being built properly from a design point of view, also testing out new features as well as optimization. And then on the marketing side, making sure our social media channels, we're putting content out there as well, and also doing research and planning for future events that's happening in the fall.
Okay, okay. So you mentioned the sprint thing, so you probably need to elaborate on what that's all about and who's
No, for
involved
sure.
in
No,
that.
yes. So no, of course. So sprint planning, every team does it. So we have the product side does it, development has sprint planning, but we do as well for design to align with their schedule. And so what we do is right now our app is launched. So now we're looking at our backlog of different either new features to test or new things to implement based on our customers' feedback. And we are working through to design those features or updates and MVPs. And so how do we take this large feature request or feature update and design it in small parts that our dev team can implement quickly in order to like meet that need, but also make sure we're still running at a fast pace to get things out there. And so we use that sprint planning meeting to understand the request or the task at hand, how we're going to design it in a small MVP format. And then Thursday, we review those set plans and use our 2-week sprints to bring it to life so the development team can implement it into the platform.
Yeah. So in a startup, how important is that sprint concept?
It is very, very important. Sprint planning is how your app stays on track. It's very easy to get out of scope when it comes to building something. You want to build like this huge thing up front, right? But the goal is to get it out and have it working so customers and users can actually test your product and really learn insights on what's going on, right? And so for us, sprint planning is how not only how we launch the app in the first place, in a timely manner, but also how we continue to optimize. So it keeps our design team and dev team on the same page and alignment, but also allows us to track what's being implemented throughout the course of the quarter and the year as well. So sprint planning is key. Some people do it weekly sprints. We have every 2 weeks as a full sprint for us. And so that pace has helped us implement new updates as well as research feature requests that our customers may have as well.
So can the idea of a sprint be used if a person is at the idea stage?
Usually, I mean, to start that way, you can, but usually sprint planning is for when you're actually in development or design to kind of keep the app on track. When you're ideating, if you want to still break it up like in those 2-week chunks, then you definitely can for sure. But usually when we were first starting out, we didn't sprint plan till we actually got into development. It was more so taking those weekly meetings to outline what user flows do we want to like wireframe or do like user journeys on that week. And then we started building the flows based off of that. And so we didn't do sprint planning until actually we started development. But I would say it is helpful to take each week and focus on a user flow, which is a feature so as a user, I want them to do blank, right? So take each week to focus on certain things to flesh it out. So when you are ready for design development, you'll be able to pass it off and get it built.
Yeah, see, I think that's kind of what I'm referring to. You still have to plan stuff to do in a short period of time to show that you're making progress.
Right.
And that's kind of where I'm coming from on that. And so if you're trying to flesh out your idea, you need to, I guess to me, if I back up a little bit, in the Lean Startup methodology, a founder is, is supposed to use this the most efficient way to build a startup. And so, but when you look at all the tools and the frameworks out there, how do you know what the next step is, and et cetera, et cetera. And so one of the things I found out from Ash last month, or I think, no, it was back in February, is that you go out and do something and come back in 2 weeks. That's the thing that keeps you connected and keep you on track. And so, like, if you don't have any battle rhythm of every 2 weeks or every week or whatever, you stall. There's nothing to connect the process.
Agreed.
Of your journey, and that to me was a missing link, because so what we have is a startup rocket, and that startup rocket has almost every step of what you need to do from an idea all the way to a minimal viable product, and documenting all the research, and et cetera. And so that's good, but the average founder doesn't have access to that. And then with our Lean Time IO, it has the stuff in there where you can actually do sprints and plan your sprints out, and all your management type stuff. And so, Yeah, so that's really is a key thing. So the folks that are out there in the idea concept stage still working on. So like if so, just think about it. If you have an idea when so like you definitely would be using it when you're trying to get your mock-ups and stuff like that. Yeah, that kind of design flow. It's just to me, it's just a connecting tissue to get you through to the point where you have your MVP, and then once you have your MVP, it getting all those updated features.
No, yeah, you're definitely 100% right. Now you break it down in that way is more so the purpose of sprint planning is to stay on track and find a rhythm, right? Make sure things are moving. And so even when you're ideating, you need that pace. Like every week I'm going to do blank, or every 2 weeks we're going to have to accomplish it. And so if you having that rhythm is super important. Like you said, if you do stall, right, time flies, right? And so you want to have like that checklist that, benchmarks to where whatever rhythm that you have, you want to accomplish certain goals. So you already have like, here's the path. How can I make sure that every week or 2 weeks I'm accomplishing, one thing and making sure you keep that rhythm 100%. So I definitely
Yeah,
agree with you on that.
yeah, and I think the like startup school with Y Combinator, that's kind of their approach as well, and they also they also apply that to growth as well. So like what kind of growth are you doing, and so how do you all look at growth with Meanwhile, and how do you plan to look at it with Rialto?
Yeah. So for us, growth right now, because that doesn't we have the beta app launch, we're looking at customer acquisition. And so
Okay.
now that we have the app launch, we're focusing on getting our customers onboarded and acquiring new customers in order to learn more data about them, as well as insights on the actual use of the app, right? And so taking those insights, we're able to optimize, iterate, add new features, get their requests, listen to their needs. And so we can keep building this platform. I did think we're at that phase now to where customers, a customer phase to where it's more so, okay, what are their needs are that we can actually look at the data and see what they're more focused on or what their requests are and have that kind of those conversations as well. And so that's our focus right now, defined as growth for us.
Yeah. So yeah, Rialto, the you said the app is live now, right?
Yeah, so we're in beta right now. So
Yeah.
what happens is that if you're interested, definitely check out rialtoapp.co and you can see our different user types. And so apply has submit your information online and we'll reach out to you to get you, if you're a founder on the platform, but if you're a community leader, and a demo and kind of walk through what that process is, like pricing and those different things as well. But definitely learn more at rialtoapp.co about the platform overall.
Okay. Okay. Fantastic. Um, where are all those questions out there in the audience? Yes. So we broke down. Um, so I think you communicated that, and you use the sprints both with your marketing team and your development team. Is that what I heard you say?
No, more so on just the different days. So we have sprint planning in the beginning of the week, then we have reviews at the end. But in that
Okay.
middle of the week is when we also look at our marketing efforts. So somebody's like marketing and brand designer and manager. And so but in my mind, like you said, keep that rhythm, right? So they're not included in that sprint planning.
Hmm.
But in our scheduling, I still keep them on that same schedule, so we're in line as well. And so
Okay.
I
Okay.
love process, I love systems, right? How my brain works. And so for me, I'm like, oh well, if half the team is going to have this sprint planning process, we're going to format our marketing side on that same process too, but it's different tasks and roles because it's not developing an app, right? And so for me, it's super helpful how we can execute. So we plan our social media calendar, every 2 weeks for the next 2 weeks, like we do our sprint planning. And so it's definitely aligned across the board for us to make it seamless for our team.
So what's the connection between industrial and systems engineering to this design and digital and design strategy?
Yes. And so I've realized, I think it clicked for me a couple of years ago, right? Because I had be honest, when I first entered into this new path, I'm like, where is this click? Is this brand new for me? Like, why am I switching careers right now? I knew I had an interest, but I was always figuring out what about my path made sense here. And then over time, I realized that, oh, it makes sense here perfectly, right? So process, problem solving, systems, understanding engineering. So I know how to work with a development team because I have an engineering background. I understand, dev talk and like dev work, those different key things that some marketing design people may not know, but I do because of my engineering background. And so it's definitely helped me from that point of view, but also my problem solving and how I think, right? I think engineering teaches you how to look at things like big vision and break it down like step by step in process. And so with my team, with the app, with our different roles that we have, I look at it as like an operating like an engine, right? So how can we make sure we're meeting these goals, but also moving in an efficient way? And so that's definitely helped me a lot in terms of managing the team at Minwell.
Yeah, so I remember industrial engineering was kind of like you dealing with processes on how things function,
Yep.
and so that seems like a direct correlation um, to me, and it was all about the users are the builders, and so that user UX stuff that's directly related as well.
Exactly. Yeah. Usability, efficiency, functional, right? That's industrial systems engineering, operation like wise. That's ISE for sure. So I definitely found alignment when I took a step back and was like, here's what I learned. Here's what I'm doing now. This all connects. So I'm super happy to get to still have my creative side, but also use my engineering expertise as well in these new ventures.
Okay, yeah, you see, Berthel has a question there.
Oh, awesome. Investors yet. So we are currently fundraising, right, actually in parallel, right? So we're also obviously getting customers, signing contracts, but we also are fundraising. We were in a Techstar social impact incubator January 2021. And so that has been helpful for us as well. So we do have, some seed money from them also, but we also have a WeFunder campaign, which is crowdfunding for your startups that we're also actively amplifying as well. And so we do have seed money, but we're still fundraising in terms of like large, to finish our seed round that we're currently working on. But in the meantime, we're still acquiring customers, signing contracts. We want to make sure that we are still getting traction.
Okay, great. The so you sound like a founder, but I understand. Are you a co-founder?
No, I'm not. Yeah, me and the founder are really good friends, right? Super close friends, actually. So like we have been kind of in this for a while. But no, I just lead our digital and design effort. So she's the founder and the CEO, but we're super close though. So we definitely connect on this startup techie. We're in the Bay Area together for about 4 or 5 years. So we definitely kind of have like half and half brain at this point.
So you're like a early employee. What do you call it?
Yes, early employee. I'm in the founding team. Is how you call it. I'm in the founding team.
Okay, gotcha. So the founding team typically, if there is an exit, you because you help build the startup. Yeah. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So definitely right. With the team, it's me, VP of Digital and Design. We also had a head of engineering who's getting his PhD in bioinformatics, as well as our cybersecurity ops manager, who has a master's in cybersecurity as well. So that's the founding team.
Okay. Yeah, they're you covered so much, and so I guess a question for me would be how did you learn all this stuff? This marketing stuff, this design stuff. How did you actually learn it?
Um, it might sound very simple, but I just researched. And I'll walk you through my thought process behind it. I don't want to say, oh, just Google, because I feel like that's not helpful, because that was the
Okay.
case. We all would be experts, right? So I feel like Google is that's a good start, but it's how you hone it, right? So for me, it was two things. Once I kind of thought about, wrote down like what interests me, right? So I actually found a note in my notes app from like 2015 where I listed out all of my interests and I put like UX, social media, design, architecture. I kind of listed out all these different things. And so one by one, I Googled like what's the foundation, like what is UX or what is marketing. And then I went and found events that were similar to those interests. And so I went to like networking events, different speeches and tech events, right? Different companies to kind of really hear from experts in that space. And so over time, I kind of learned so much. Now my next step was how do I apply this, right? So I've learned, I researched, I went to events. How do I apply this? And so for me, I started freelance web design, and then I started, freelance social media consulting, and I started, working with different small businesses. Like, hey, I want to help you with this. Like, can we partner together on learning these different skills? You need a new website? Do you want social media consult advice? Those different key things. And then once I applied it, I then was able to start applying it in my actual corporate career. And so over time, over the past 5-6 years, I've been able to really, master this because of that first step. And so for me, it was research, went to events from experts, and not just like learning from experts, but also, once again, community, right? So I joined communities who were also learning design or interested in, marketing and these different things, because it was helpful also to learn from my peers, not just like the heavy hitters, right? Because I was able to, bounce off ideas, see what they're working on, show what I was working on. So that way it was able for me to really kind of form that community and learn from each other. And then that's how I kind of got here in terms of learning all this stuff in a sense.
Okay, that sounds really neat. I wanted to put this grow with Google thing out there for businesses, and I think they're saying like they're giving each business like $100,000 worth of training.
Yeah.
And but I wanted to read one of the reasons why I put it up was to kind of show the kind of stuff that so like these all these IT certificates, and so you can see the list here, and then like if you're doing a data analytics, you can see all the stuff here. And you mentioned you were doing the UX type stuff, and so and UI type stuff. They all this stuff here, and project management and marketing.
Right.
So yeah, and so I put that up there because the Google, even before they did this for businesses, they did it free for founders of color. And I made posts about that about a year and a half ago or so, and I don't know how many people took advantage of it, but all these programs are out there to help you develop the skills you want to develop, and it sounds like you I don't know if you did any certificate programs, but they may not have had them 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah, yeah, right. I wish I had this. If I would have had this, that would have cut down. That would have cut down my learning side by like 2 years, right? If
Yeah.
Google had this UX design program like you have right now, that would
Yeah.
be my first like initial. I would have signed up for this program, found people who also were in these certificates to like keep us accountable, right, to finish. And then I
Yeah.
was like good to go, right? But they didn't have it at the time. So they had some courses, but it wasn't as structured as like Google's has right now. So I would say definitely if you can jump on that opportunity, and big thing, find people in your community or in the startup space that are also involved in certificate, just because it will help you keep you accountable, right? You have a person in your course with you, and also, they can learn from each other as well. But yeah, that's amazing. I wish they had it. They didn't, but I
Yeah.
recommend it for sure.
Yeah, that is exactly right. So to me, it's definitely the resources are there. You just have to kind of make up your mind that you want to do it. Do you? I guess we're out of time. Do you have any parting comments, Kim?
Yeah, so if you definitely want to connect with me, I can share my LinkedIn in the comments for you all. I enjoy, sharing my story. I'll love to share more. To hit me up on LinkedIn, and connect with me, and I'll definitely, share any things that I have, resources and also more about the company as well, if you're interested also. But I definitely had a great time enjoying talking to you for sure.
Okay, I was gonna find your LinkedIn thing here real quick. I tried to post it before we got started, and it didn't like that.
No problem. No problem.
Let's see if it actually works here.
Oh, perfect.
Yes,
Yep, there it is. Awesome. Yeah, definitely. Like I said, LinkedIn, connect with me. I'll love to share more about my story and my path, as well as the company and what we're working on as well. So,
yes, that's fantastic. And so you said a lot about community tonight, and so what do you think for Pensacola and Northwest Florida? How do you think we build this community and get these founders and these ecosystem builders together and to move forward?
yeah, there's so many good things happening here already. Like you say, right? It's more so kind of finding that connective tissue to get them all like in that same like realm, right? And so the work you're doing is amazing, and so I think it's definitely a huge start and a huge push to merging founders together in the startup industry. And so keep doing efforts like this, these events like this, what you're doing in your other programs and resources that you have a part of the institute, and we'll definitely be on our way for sure. I think it's more so as people finding each other, and you're doing that a great job with that with the institute as well.
Okay, well, we appreciate that, and well, thank everyone for joining in and participating. We look forward to our next week event with Levy, and so he can share his take. Kevin, I think you did a great job, and thank you very much for supporting Startup on the Blocks.
Of course, thank you for inviting me, and thank you everyone for attending.
All right, bye bye, everyone. We'll see you all next.